Hello, soldier.
Hi, this is the Professional Amateur Hour coming to you with another review. This week I checked out Universal Soldier, Day of Reckoning. And this 2012 film was directed by John Hames and stars Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren, and Scott Adkins, among others, of course. The story of this movie is about our main character, and one night this cult that Van Damme kind of runs comes in and kills his wife and child. And then the next day he wakes up in the hospital and he's like, I gotta get revenge on this guy. Along the way, he gets jabbed with the Universal Soldier serum or juice or whatever it might be. So he's kind of got that going for him. But then also the cult sends one of their Universal Soldiers to come and fight him. And he's just like, a very mission focused guy. So he's just coming after this main character. And then he finds out where the cult is. And then he's got to go to the cult headquarters and fight through all the guys. And, hopefully make it all the way to Jean-Claude Van Damme. Will he, though? Well, for that, you got to watch the movie and find out. All right, so let's discuss this film. Well, with this one, I actually originally was not going to watch this film this week. I wanted to watch another movie. I was like, oh, that cool movie with like the Universal Soldier, and he's like a cyborg, and he like rips some guy's eye out, but then that guy replaces him, he's thrown away. And I thought that was called Universal Soldier, so I got like Universal Soldier on my TV, and then it turned out that it was not what I was thinking of. I was thinking of just Soldier with Kurt Russell. And I don't know if that's like a thing. Is that like the Mandela effect? Does anyone else think that the movie Soldier is actually called Universal Soldier? Because apparently it's not. And so I was kind of disappointed when I pressed play, seeing Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph, running around in Vietnam, and Dolph's like yelling into like a necklace of ears, like, can you hear me now? Or something like that. And I'm just like, this is not the movie I thought it was. And so then I turned it off, did some research, tried to find the Soldier movie. But then it turns out that there's already a review for that on this channel. So I was like, I don't really want to watch Universal Soldier for, what it is. And then I saw that there was actually 6 of these Universal Soldier movies. I know, can you believe it? 6 Universal Soldiers. And so I selected the last one, Universal Soldier 6, Day of Reckoning, and then I pressed play on that one. And so that is kind of my story, and so let's discuss this movie. So it was probably not a good idea for me to watch the 6th one first, because I think I've seen Universal Soldier like many, many, many years ago, and thinking about it, like I kind of just read, a summary of it. There is this serum that, makes you into a super soldier where you can regenerate things. And I think it also has like mind control properties as well. And so with that being said, like I'm lost in this movie, but it is what it is. So is there positives? Certainly, I would say that with Jean-Claude Van Damme, he's like the leader of a cult of super soldiers. And the cult is actually pretty interesting how it all kind of works out. And they're there just being roided up, beating each other and stuff, and their kind of hierarchy about who can beat who, and then that type of stuff. It's all kind of fascinating. I really did enjoy that. And so that was certainly a positive. And as an action movie, also, this one does have a good amount of action in it. Whether it kind of makes sense is another question, but it is decent, I would say. It's perfectly fine. It's okay action. The main guy, I think Scott Adkins there, he does a good job with his fighting scenes. He's kind of doing this like Jean-Claude Van Damme impression of his fighting style. And it's kind of cute to see sometimes. Like he'll be like beating a guy with like a baton or something. And then he'll realize like, oh, this is so like useless. Like he just throws it away and just starts kicking the guy because that's, Jean-Claude Van Damme's style. And so that's just kind of, a cute little clever thing every so often. And it works certainly for what it is. So, if you're into the action, it is in here. Other than that, it's not that bad. It has good shooting. The sound is perfectly good. And so you can see, like, on a technical level, it works. I think this director also directed Universal Soldier 5, so of course he's got some experience with that type of stuff. But yeah, it's good for shooting, you know, nothing too offensive, but it certainly has its issues, which we'll talk about. And that brings me to what doesn't work with this film. Well, let me tell you, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren are on the movie poster. They're big names, but they are not really in this movie. They're more cameos than anything else. They might have 10 minutes together combined on screen, and so it's not really about them. It's about this new main character going through this, you know, story. And then even when you do see them, like Jean-Claude Van Damme, he is really kind of weird how they introduce his character. And so the main guy gets, like, you know, stuck with this needle and given the juice, and then starts hallucinating, but it's like the worst hallucination. Like, it's just strobe lights, just like flashing strobe lights with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And it's not even like done really that well. Like, I'm in a dark room watching this like white light just strobing, and I have to like close my eyes because I can't take that. And so it is done in such a way where like the strobing kind of starts, and then the scene actually kind of fades into the white strobing, and then Jean-Claude Van Damme kind of fades into that. And so if you're closing your eyes because you can't take the strobing, you can't even see Jean-Claude Van Damme in these hallucinations, and you're just like, that's not fun. Like, that's not a good way to kind of introduce this guy. It might be a good way to introduce the powers of the serum, but it just doesn't really work that way. So that certainly is one thing. In addition, the whole thing with the juice is it kind of has this mind control thing going on. And so all the characters are absolutely mindless. Like, there's no point to any of them. Like, anything they do is just because that's what the juice tells them to do. And so it is very kind of lackluster in any story elements. And with the main kind of bad guy that they send after the main character, he just shows up all the time. And you're just like, oh, it's time for another fight, I guess. Okay. And then that fight ends. And then, you know, he shows up somewhere else. And you're just like, how is he like finding him all the time? And then it's just so dumb that way. Like, there's nothing to the story, and it's not told in like a coherent manner. It's, I guess, supposed to be like a drug trip on this juice thing. I don't know. They also have like lots of kind of motifs from, I guess, Apocalypse Now and stuff like that. And so it just kind of goes into like the madness of super soldiering, I guess. But that's, you know, me giving it, you know, as much credit as I possibly can. And so the story itself just doesn't work. What else? The fighting, I said it was perfectly okay. I think with the main character, it's his fighting scenes are fine, but just some of them are very kind of mediocre, and so it doesn't really push the envelope with these fight scenes. Especially, you know, it's the sixth movie. You think they would want to do something different than the other movies, but no, they just have regular fight scenes in, you know, the store, on a highway, in a restaurant. And so it's just one of these things where maybe not starting with the sixth one was probably not the best idea I've ever had. And yeah, let's leave it at that. As for my recommendation, well, unfortunately, I don't think I can. I can't even believe there's 6 of these things. So maybe 1 is pretty good, you know, maybe 2, but 6th one, I think it went actually straight to like VOD as well. So, you know, if you want to watch it, it's out there, but I can't really tell you to go press play on this one. As for my rating, well, I gotta give it a score of 3. That's the score for meh, and that's probably the perfect way of describing this movie. It's very meh. And yeah, with that being said, I think that's all I wanted to say. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.